It depends, I won't comport myself, I can't. I fall for you, down flat. I fall for you, down flat, yo. Go. I will not but no, you bad. I swear, you bad. I swear, you bad. Not to me long thing, something wicked there for your body now.
A very good morning to you and welcome to GN Radio UK. This time it is the legal hour. So joining me this morning is Amy Adedente from Abinelle Solicitors. Amy, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, James. Doing very well. I hope you're well. My God.
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very, very well. And you have a good holiday?
It was wonderful. Lovely time off. Yeah.
It was needed, right?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Now let's proceed with what we're going to discuss today. Just to let you know, if you want to send your messages in, you can do so on 0778 793 9958. All right. Today we're going to talk about domestic violence. And again, this is something that it is happening within our community. Myself, I have witnessed, cases where people have experienced domestic violence and they had to flee. And I'm very happy that we're discussing this today, Amy. So, if I may ask, New Domestic Abuse Act 2021. What is the definition of domestic violence? Because I think many of us have just a broad or vague idea of what domestic violence is. But when it comes to the law, this is where we fall short.
Yes. All right. So they introduced the Domestic Abuse Act 2021, and they stated that from 1st of October 2021, they would want the definition to entail the following. So it's physical abuse or sexual abuse, violent or threatening behavior, controlling or coercive behavior, economic abuse, and psychological, emotional, or other abuse. So it falls under an umbrella, and there's quite a lot under the definition.
Yeah.
So it's not your typical blow to blow, or anything like that. It's more. There's definitely more to the definition.
Okay, and the thing is, sometimes again, within our community, people tend to overlook the abuse that is meted to them, and you tend to find out, oh, don't worry, just keep going, just endure. That's what you're supposed to do. So hopefully this clarifies a lot of things for people, and if you happen to be experiencing this, you know what to do or where to go, or if there are any questions you want to ask, you can do so. So if I may ask, what are the protection, and is available to victims? What protections is available to victims?
Okay, Jones, the protection available to victims, there's two main ones, but we'll discuss anything that's also an emergency as well. So the two main ones that we're looking at is, one, we're looking at the non-molestation order, which is under the Family Law Act. And then two, we're also looking at the occupation order as well, which also helps. But Jones, there's also an emergency order under both of these headings that can be used, which is without notice. So what that means is, they don't have to give notice before an application or an order is made, which of course is convenient in some situations.
Okay. If you just tune in, we're talking to Amy Amy from Abinelle Solicitors. The area of specialty is family law and immigration. So do get in touch. Right about now, we're looking at domestic violence. So do get in touch if you have any questions. If you happen to be in a situation where what we're discussing concerns you, then make sure you get in touch. We're streaming live on Facebook, so you can leave your messages on there. Whilst you're there, make sure you share, all right? Get your questions coming in, and I'll put them to Amy, and I'm sure Amy will answer your questions. Or if they need more time for you, then you need to head to the office, okay? The place of office is 14 Claypole Road, Stratford, E15 2RJ. So make sure you make note of that. And Amy, so who can apply for such protection?
Who can apply for such protection? I think it's quite wide, James. So it's not just partner, of course, people who live together, who are cohabiting, so partners, also spouses can apply. It's quite wide, actually. Children can apply as well. You also have people who are within the same household, who of course are witnessing domestic violence. They can also apply. And you also, extended family members as well, cousins, aunties, uncles, they can all apply as well. So it's quite wide, providing you're within that situation, you're within that home, as you would call it, you can still apply. You can still apply for the non-molestation order or occupation order.
And what does it cover? The non-molestation orders, what does it cover?
Right, so non-molestation order, Jones, what it really means is to stop acts of violence or threats of violence against you or against a person, all right? But apart from that, it's also to stop things like pestering. So when I say pestering, it's more like maybe somebody keeps specifically or constantly sending you text messages, abusive text messages, letters, emails, or is on social media, constantly pestering you. That would, or telephone calls, that would also fall under molestation. So is to stop such acts of violence, such threats of violence and pestering. That is what the non-molestation order is there for.
Okay. And, when the case does go to court, what are the factors that the court may consider?
Well, they consider quite a bit. First of all, they consider things like the duration, how long, if you have such an order, how long it can last for. Firstly, it can last for a specified period, or it can even, in such an order, it can last for an indefinite period. It really depends on the circumstances. What they do really is, Jones, they look at your safety, your well-being, of the applicant who is applying, and any children or any vulnerable people. That is what the court factors in when they're making a non-molestation order in favor of the applicant. So yeah, that's the sort.
Now that there's, I've actually witnessed this myself. Where there's a situation where the woman doesn't have her papers, the right documentation here, and she was going through a level of abuse. But the advice that was given to her was her to seek legal advice, but she was reluctant due to the fact that she didn't have the right documentation. She was afraid should she avail herself, then she would be down to scrutiny. And as such, she thought she might end up being deported. So my question to you is, if the person happens to not have the right documentation or right of abode in this country, can such person make a claim as well? And would they be covered?
Yes. To be honest, it doesn't specifically say that you have to have the right, to reside or to have immigration status. If you're within a particular setting or household and you are being threatened, you're being abused, then you definitely can still apply, because there's no such requirements. This is under family law, so there's no such requirement really. But what would be taken into account, for example, is maybe if you are you reside within the home, but you're not on the tenancy agreement or the mortgage statement, that would be taken into account. But even then, there are protection for such people as well. So, to be honest, they're not really looking at your immigration status.
Okay, I'm glad that's been clarified. I mean, when it comes to the issue of law, there are certain things that, if you didn't study law, it's very difficult to understand what it means. And one thing is occupation order. What is occupation order, and what does it entail?
Right. So occupation order is basically an order to either exclude completely maybe the abusive party from a property in question, or they exclude you from part of the property in question. So it's there to protect, ultimately, it's there to protect the applicant from being abused, whether it be physically, verbally, emotionally, or psychologically, and to ensure that such abuse cannot take place. So if they try and segregate you or stop you from coming, the abusive party from coming into the property, it then protects the welfare and well-being of the victim. So that is what it's there for, you know.
And again, I've seen this happen where the abuser would say that this is my house, leave my house. You know, in cases like that, you know, what if the applicant has no right to occupy the home? Right.
So in cases like that, they deal with it in two stages. It's either you have the existing right to occupy, or you don't. But in both instances, you are protected, which is very good, right? Mm-hmm. They look at a range of things, to be honest. They look at things like, for example, your housing needs. I'm talking about the perpetrator, the person who is being violent. They look at your housing needs, housing resources, and whether the parties have any children. They look at your financial resources. So say you are being violent towards a particular individual and you have, you know, a lot of you have financial stability, you have a lot of income at your disposal. The court may take that into account when making an order for for an occupation order, because you can then look for alternative accommodation. They look at what your housing needs are really. Maybe if say the perpetrator has a disability and the house has been sort of designed to assist and cater to that disabled person, the court may take that into account. That, okay, well, this house is really designed to assist and aid the disabled person, so we can't completely exclude them from the property. They look to see whether you have children and their interests. You know, if you have children, they would, of course, be in favor of the children remaining within the property, and of course, them being safe as well. They look at the conduct of both parties, what has actually transpired as well. They look at that. So when they say conduct, they're looking at your attitude, your behavior, whether you've been very aggressive, violent towards the person. They look at the magnitude of that and how serious in nature it is. They're very careful with that, because if they make a mistake and don't give an occupation order and allow the person to remain there, it could be fatal. It could result in maybe somebody being seriously hurt or possibly even dead in some cases. So they look at everything. They look at everything. The length in time you've been, if you're married, how long you've been married for. They look at a range of things before they would just exclude someone wholly from the property or partly. So they just wouldn't do it. They would take a lot into consideration before they do.
And will the exclusion of the abuser, is there a limited time? Is there a time frame, or is it indefinitely?
Okay, so usually they wouldn't do it indefinitely, because that would be to their disadvantage. Okay. But however, they usually for about 6 months, you know, that's the usual time, the specified period they usually give, you know. It's unlikely to be indefinite, you know.
Okay, and I mean, we we know that when it comes to legal issues, sometimes they can drag.
That's
And
correct.
yeah, it could take a long period of time. So then my question is, can application for non-molestation order and occupation order be done, in the way of an emergency?
It can be, and I think at this point, Jones, I'm gonna speak a bit of English, but mix it with a bit of Tree for those who would want to hear this and want to hear it in Trinity. In terms of orders, na yeah, can say be abusive towards you, and now say it may be say if you are mutimono, ombema onipa or ye violence no ombema na every if ye hono. That is occupation order no. These orders no omubetimi by way of an emergency. Sa emergency no your friend no without notice, an emergency order without notice. And no say courts no, depending on how serious no abuse no actually is no, the court betimi order say onibakrono enja how and now say on fifie ho, but omun can't share sa nipakrono omun man notice say omun obeye sa de no. The reason for that ne say ebia ubona mania ebia obetimi proud nipakrono or face domestic violence. And now say ubona mania obeka say oh media min san can notice no obe try say obe avoid it. Into all of these things no shim Asha said David, this thing is urgent. If Abian so in Kolansu womubia, oh now the violence now you're very serious no umbetimi ama without notice into mat sound bakone and who cry say yes no by the time obehuno na ya dada to protect the children, to protect the person being abused verbally and I say physically, the court can actually do that.
Okay. And yeah, Sibia watch it, and I think say Bianca Ubechim kakra molestation order no. I sit say and a wine and a cover and as I want to be to me use molestation order no.
Okay, into non-molestation order no. A funny pabia or fear, only war fear. Ebia or teteo, ebia physically no, or bow, and I say, bibia sia, or try say debia or be proud, and I say, or be injaw, one of the two. However, no, apart from say, or be proud no, ebia na on fun and some embow yet. However, no, dear okay kafa and now say we gonna cry na we show, because I said your sino obe kasa, said your no obe threaten wo afano. Oh say adiano untimi ninentina, uninentina ufili say one kasano either say obetimi afa bibia bo and I say obetimi proud and I say psychologically no the oye no untimi handle adiano cry and like a usha situation na usro say ebia immediately no ebetimi ahaw either physically or emotionally into non-molestation order no yet me yes our order no yet me the court family court ho eyama emma na yes say sound the pakro way or tete no sound the pakro way or more problems no wa brabum or ye wo de bia huna na wo yem hihyew because wo dream say bia obetimi ato ade abo and I say ebia de bia na into kwasi sa order way no ebe stop sa nipa krono from sa actions na oye no ebetimi a stop in the bibia because sa order no a legally binding order so yeah the manner say sa nipa krowe untimi emfa won sa touch no ebia na on fan and santo order but however no bibiana or threaten bibiana or abuse emotionally and also order non so bet me stop it sadie no ama na assise na bibia science because say court na catch any background say jai sadie no. So that is what a non-molestation order is, and non a friend of non-molestation order.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, say Siano, yaka occupation order, and I think the non-molestation order. Ain't no, say be our person, we a present emergency occupation, your friends in order. Then a court, and what are the things that they will consider? So we make kisa emergency order now. And that face, maybe sir question me. No, when I'm ready, it's my churchy, mama.
Yeah.
What are the consequences? If I say be occupation order, no, and that's a non-molestation order, no, is breached.
What are the consequences?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, emergency applications, no, what they look for. Into court, no, so emergency application. Omumbo sanipa krona or tete ono omumbona mania. That is what is called emergency order without notice.
Okay.
Before some share some certain factors. One, share the risk of significant harm to who ana akolabia or tifieho. Right. Into share said, dear kosono, a bet me the problem Kesiabiaba, because as we know, Jones, Ebiana Nipa Bijin say, okay, well, once in a while or pushing me here and there. But after some time, no, I am more intensive, I am more aggressive. Into say court, no better me assess our situation. I can say, okay, due to what happened Ebia yesterday night, due to what happened this morning, did you say we yemma emergency order Ebia first no. Not the be no abuse you mentally. But yesterday night, no, ordinance some no strangle or person. Now that is a significant risk of harm. Se court and shesa diana ebiana bibia I see ebiana one a bit me akase wakun clean. And I said, obet me I'm a serious injury beer. There will be no coming back from it. So this is the significant risk of harm. Another significant risk of harm or motion is akolano. Ebiana wofieho last night no Nipakrono push into the wall. Akola onyan D18, ebia with D5, with D6, or witnesses are no debia. Sa significant risk of harm. One, a bit me about akolano so. Ebiana in the midst of the violence at home, physical abuse at home. Na kolano, also ya prano. 1, 2. The significant risk of harm can also be psychological for the child and emotional. Inti akolano shese ni papa anani mame ye buno akolano. It will have a very great impact on akolano psychologically. And emotionally. Into this is what the court will look at. And when the court no be share, I can say emergency, say ma order no a protected woni akolano.
Yeah.
Also, should say, okay, sound pa krona or apply no say yes order no immediately. Ebe preventing no say obe forward biomo. Because Jones, so should be if you look at domestic violence now, who to me who said in some situations no let's say akoma for situation na air koso inti a honey I said court no to me decided said no, this is not right. No more emergency order because says some victims of domestic abuse change your mind. When I say change their mind, ebi onipa krono betimi akro oh, Jamie, and Nana Juno. The patcho now a fachemi. Na a devil no nebemu. Inti fachemi. Now because of who said they will sit here no, and because of the relationship, and maybe because of the children in Kolanin tea, now I can say would channel. But however, you never know, say, they channel no. The next fatal day is to come. Inti or channel bino. The court have to look at that. As they are dealing with the rate in which they are, or what they are able to endure. Maybe our fair police, but after a while, no, what jai police afraid because of say or patch on what jai. Court no will look at all of this and look at the demeanor and the attitude of the victim, no, to decide whether it's an emergency and it's right to go for it. And the last one, say, almost say, emergency without notice order, no, onipa krona or violence towards applicant, no, or the children, no, obe try say like per se this order no and I say notice no be mano into obe jane evading service and now delaying, because usually who call family court who call your application for an order, we have to remember that it is a process. It's usually with notice. Omude notice no be bre respondent no, and the respondent will acknowledge service. Omba acknowledges say woman saka say witness statement be or no say so no as obey. But in this case, no, it's an emergency, so they are not giving you that notice. Or notice, no, they are going straight for it. So these are the sort of things that they want to avoid. If they feel say omuma will notice because say you want to continue with your violent behavior, no, and the reason why they do an emergency is when the person receives it, no, the impact on the victim, because in somebody now I can say into one hour report to me, I call family court, no wrong. And all of this, no, the court is trying to prevent it and trying to protect this, the well-being and welfare of the person being abused. Into a nintina or emergency orders, and these are the things they look at. So more consider.
Okay, and that may be a follow-up question. No? What are the consequences if occupation order and as a non-molestation order is breached?
Wow, there are some very strong consequences of things that they can put in force to ensure that you are deterred. First of all, so breach here, say, listen, there's a power of arrest. This is with the non-molestation order, for example. Into breach here, like when you breach it, they'll say, okay, we are coming to arrest you. The police, that is, Umbeka say police, and power of arrest, no. Yenkai say, as much as 12 months imprisonment. And, really nobody wants to be imprisoned for 12 months. Into some non-molestation order or occupation order is there to make you sit up. Or say, wake up, they are trying to deter you. Say, still and as still I'm to say me bono, still abusing emotionally. Remember, say it may have a power of arrest embedded within the order. And you get a 12-month imprisonment. There's a potential to get a prison sentence for it. I say, you're very careful. It's quite a powerful order. Apart from that, no, they can also say they're going to give you a penalty for breaching that order, whether it be occupation or a non-molestation. Move fine for £5,000 just for breaching it, and it's money as a court no kasa move fine because they can give you a what do you call it, an earnings attachment order into Wusika Uji every month, no. £5,000 fine. So we need cash, ready cash. I would triaka or more G every will pay every single month. And Jones is there to deter you. And we also a bit protect you on the chrono. Na sound the chrono on coso and yes, I didn't and shell. So it's either said there's a penalty, a power of arrest, which may involve a prison sentence of 12 months. So we should really be very careful when these things are ordered.
Okay, Amy, this one, maybe, sir, please indulge my ignorance, sir. If I say, my I apply for non-molestation order, na wetu efiri fie honum ti sesi ɔne nkola no eti baby na afei ɔno ane eyi ne kunu na hyehyɛ ho sɛ ɔbɛma ne kunu na hu nkola na one you're right, and two, what could possibly be the implications for my minnow?
Well, to be honest with you, said non-molestation order or an occupation order is in place, and you decide, because non-molestation, for example, it can stop the person from being within a certain radius of you and the children.
Yeah.
If you are then putting yourself in harm's way, the courts have stopped it from happening to protect you and protect your welfare and your safety and everything. But not one kasa wouldn't say BBC. First of all, it's going against an order which has been ordered by the court. Say BBC. Remember, say even wukno and our yeria odin kolano konoho. Or no, why you're violent towards you, no. Remember, say on no crano, that person is breaching the order, and the fine may still stand. You can still be fined. Still, I bet me arrested on the chrono. All of we have to be very careful. You know, non-molestation order and occupation order can be merged with other family proceedings. Say, for example, maybe. There's a non-molestation order or an occupation order in place, but at the same time in court, there's a child arrangement order, and also the courts will find a way that is most appropriate to ensure the welfare of the children in such a case is paramount. If the court see that no, this person is very violent, a bit excluded panel. Within the child arrangement order for a period of time, it will prevent the other parent from seeing the children just because of the violent nature. It is taken very seriously. It is a BBC. One, the perpetrator can be fined, they can be arrested. And two, you put yourself in harm's way. You are putting yourself in danger, So these are the things that we have to be careful of.
Non-molestation order and also occupation order no. And also kawasa ibia my men anase nipa kra ya disa subona bono no. Ontimi enko ebia nkola ni school anase nkola ni activities bia. And so court empne emane enko ana.
Yes, depending on the nature of the non-molestation order, usually if it's something excluding them and, preventing them from coming within a certain radius, it may include the children as well. Okay. Because, of course, maybe their children were within the household when it was happening. So they want to avoid any violence being done on both the applicant and the children. So it can exclude you coming from the school, going to the school, attending school activities until that order comes to an end, till the order for non-mol comes to an end, you will not be able to come within a certain reach or distance of those family members.
Okay. All right. Now, we have a scenario here. Okay. So, if, say, Amma is married to an EU national, they have been married 2 years. Amma says the marriage is shambles and her husband abuses her emotionally and physically, as he always pushes her down to the ground during arguments. Furthermore, Amma says her husband abuses her financially, as he is constantly taking all her earned money. Amma says her husband claims he brought her to the UK, and so he is entitled to her full salary, as without him she would be nobody. And that's as same way, it's very prominent. It happens in the community, a lot. Say, men I'm a free fear buy ain't near to you. I just see me near Sikai to you. When I'm with bills with fear, Oba won't you now? So I'm a person who said this a person who said in this type of situations, what will happen?
Wow, Jones, I'm very happy somebody has asked this question, because it's CDPI, like you are saying. You see, Usha, the new definition of domestic abuse. Usha, there's economic abuse as well, which your finances can fall under that as well. Economic abuse, emotional, psychological, because it's not right. I said, free, let's say, for example, Ghana ba or the waba or your EU ne waba jiwo 5 years, limited leave to remain, pre-settled status. Kama na.
Okay. Well, try say get Amy back on. Amy has just dropped off. The line has dropped off, so we try best to get Amy back on to give us more information as to what's happening. This is Abinelle Solicitors in the near pay. And the office number is 0203 759 3309. 0203 759 3309. Or you can call them on WhatsApp on 07824 705353. Let me repeat that again. 07824. We're doing our best to get her back on. She'll be back on very, very soon. So don't go nowhere. She's back on. Amy,
hi.
Glad to have you back on. Please carry on where you left off.
Right. So Odewaba, when you're 5 years, pre-settled status, limited leave to remain, and then all of a sudden, no, domestic abuse, we see woman tem, ebia this economic abuse, ebia say, debia wunya ska mamishe, and I say wunya ska fa card mame, yetria wo career, SME, ebia £1,000 a free mu. £1,000 we free more na can bear £300 left. The other bet on a bus pass, nene drianimun sending ya basa, because say wona wouldn't buy. Until we have to remember, say that is categorized as domestic abuse. By reason of aware and no and say we a slave. Whether it be you be a man or a woman, the facts will be anyway free Ghana back. And you have to be a victim of domestic violence. And say sikasem say the aggression, the threats, how or fear that can be categorized as domestic violence. Not physical blows, but or kind of debia AC yes say a man would a useless woman and I say Kofi yes saying a man would a useless man. Debia, it always goes on. It is psychological abuse. Bibia is psychological. A what dream, a how it immediate depression back. I say a kai say and no so your domestic violence. Say obi de wo back from her. Or ye EU ni or the waba what you 5 years. Ebia usro say aware no gua. Unso yebeka say free chrome hako. Unso nie ebia waba chrome ha. Ube show how far. Ube live will life make your life better. Ama wo ni umbusi for omo Ghana, for example. Yenkai said, if you're married to an EU national, now you are in a situation, domestic violence, remember, said there's a way, application, there's something called retained right of residence under the Appendix EU. Say a see of fear, Kai said, yes, utna na ye bo akun, and I say, utna na depression nya high blood pressure, nya yare a hodro bebre every day, cause of fear, Debbie. Kai say, there's a route, there's a way, retained right of residence, bet me a protective ni won kolani nya or munewo abakroma. And to just remember that there's a way out. There is a way out.
Now, I'm a SABC said, then a bit me a protecting her.
Right. Again, we go back to this retained right of residence.
Okay.
Sometimes, Jones, sometimes clients be a more understanding be of Emrano. Omoka say, hey, my worry no problem is see what my worry more. But I think say me train Emma me worry check about 3 years ansana meti me a coming out I vocal. Jones, that is a lie. That's not true. Because Kai said, with domestic violence, no, every single moment is crucial. Who can say who train for 3 years? No. Obit me, you be proud. I be indefinite, be proud for life. You can't take it back. Obit me, God forbid, but obit me within that 3 years I will train. So it's not right. Remember, say, even within the 3 years, no. The course will feel on found in some ball, on proud. However, no, because of no, in turn, no, you are getting high blood pressure. In turn, no, you can end up getting a stroke just because of the course will feel. So it's not something you see physically, but it builds up on and it affects your health. Yankai say we cannot. It's not all the time. You can wait for 3 years. And sana, ukoji will divorce. Because I mean divorce, me divorce pa be say bibia. Me don't know but said you also treat me no. I say me family baby. But me sa come so I would dream who say me sa kwa e be say me krata. It's not true. You can apply for retained right of residence by way of a breakdown in the relationship due to violence. Do you get it? But Jones, yenti me fire no. En kase me relationship way, I say, because of domestic violence, I say you prove it to Home Office and say, I am in a situation that I cannot stand. Violence will fear her. Into a warrior way, mean to me and koso, semi koso, be to me yeme. I so provide them with that evidence before a baby be successful.
Okay, then to know about say nipa chrono then the process or but she finds herself in an abusive relationship. So make a decision, say a OCK for non-molestation order, non-occupational order, and have any impact? What a application or
Not at all. And in fact, Jones, non-molestation order and an occupation order or COGIN is very, if you look at the Home Office guidance in respect to retained right of residence under the EU settlement scheme, no, it is very, very good evidence, strong evidence. I actually say, when there too, because the court have ordered it. The courts have ordered it. Jones, I think I said me for this opportunity.
Yeah.
Jones, in our community, where like Ghana community, per se the like elders and family members, per se tenase.
Yeah, suffer for.
Spiritualists buomo. Per se no more tenase. Na problem no. Yet me solve problem no within the family. Jones, min can't say no ye bonnet. Min can't say your bonnet. However, no, say sad no say what try to solve it outside of going to court or calling the police or whatever it may be. What try that? NC ye. What me who say they are a colaway no a pattern. The elders ne bemwa. Na ye solve problem na. Na asan ako back to the way it used to be. Na usan fre elders no bium. Kai say, you may be destroying who first of all with life. You are also putting yourself at harm's way. You may in harm's way. You may be, harming yourself in turn because ebi a bibi timi see the next time no bibi be see a sorry bium. Then all of this pastors and elders and of the family, Ninya enkosishwe. 1, 2. Yen kai says some abusers no. Omude sa asetna way etete nepa.
Yeah.
Oh, they sheni ye. One sheni year. Drew 5 years now. Minya mouth. Nobody tete. And no cry psychological abuse. Debia on the chrono will be on tenterhooks. Debia because Osro say the master and now the mistress. Beka say onya emmano. Me pachawa. There's a way to resolve that problem. I would not say kosa tete no, and you do absolutely nothing about it. And no. I bet say was sitting up because say a banner say 1 obet me a be proud. And I say, of course, it can be fatal. But we have to also remember, say, what sitting a bit me say, because say, or debia or can or threaten, say, a due time on your buma. Or bet me, I can say, hey, men from a BBM mouth, men because you don't deserve it. Once we, what's now a warrior, you have been faithful. What's now what's now up to the point in which I say when you are sitting and now didn't snap forevermore. I feel or can say on your mouth. But I said before that happens, no, say it happened once. It can even happen once. Now Philly said no, men yes say you. Ubet me I application. You officer situation. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait 5 years. Now more proud because say train say 5 years about. Now the almighty indefinite leave to remain will come. It will come into your passport, into chain, Debbie, yenyenesa. Say uba kromha within a month, 2 months, who say nipa pro way or tete me. Obet me a problem, palmy, who say, obet me a prame, you can make an application under the immigration rules, under the DV application. Or if it's under the Appendix EU, retained right of residence. Indefinite leave because of domestic violence. Inti kai say you are not a slave. You are not. Don't think say because of the backroom hano, the person, your wife is enslaving you or your husband is enslaving you. It's not true. You came here for marriage. One base yebebo. That is what you came for. So say marriage no end because of domestic violence. You have to be vocal. You have to come out with it. Don't be depressed and not go and see your GP. And case who are depression, but GP krawan kohono. Into what evidence are you using? Application. Be vocal. Call the police if the police need to be called. Because remember, say so for police now. Me nyada record so. Me nyano so. Ubet me I use it. Ayo application. So or saki from fear. Now I say ufre women's refuge and now refuge for men. Now ukotina ho. I say be call record so. And also you bet media your application. So blood pressure cholesterol. Now uko doctor ho. Catch no de koso. And kase we near say we yiri or tete and I say we kun tete there be open up. At this stage, no say domestic violence, but I say we are open. I know say air but kai say so unya opener. Ubet me I say wa bravo. I say wa sitting out from.
Now, a very paramount. So be making sure say ubinya evidence the best support to or application. It be beko GP say having impact on you. Beko GP honomo. I face no say. Or abuse me afraid police because person making this application evidence very important. Okay. Say Amy Wall.
What happened?
Okay. Time cry soon. In a nutshell, no final word I'll bit me I can particular about near treaty and nano pay about domestic violence and non-molestation order and also occupation order. Okay.
The American said occupation order and non-molestation order. Be a family court, dear Maye. to protect us, to protect our children. And what say about boying? So we cut through problems. To me, I resolve be amount comma. Then can say protection or and to me, I go into an order, legally binding. So when the pakona tries to obey bimwa, obey who said there are consequences to their actions. So me can say consequences are to me they know akotum bear 12 months. To me a fine no. Into the American say domestic violence a BBS or more yenos if it's done psychologically, emotionally, controlling, physically through sexual abuse, BBA say see because knew say was a situation. But as we solicitor and then the American say a new cry frame. Say see once cry frame or Abinelle Solicitors, wow. Say Ebane said it was just one slap frame.
No.
Doesn't matter what it is, just give us a call.
Absolutely. Amy, I say. Abinelle Solicitors when in your mutual and anope make sure so beketi in touch. A honey age media ABC. Edamasi say mutimi in Yamia Duma next week a besign at us. Edamasi. Midin Eddie Johnson wa honey age media ABC. Yamia my best share.
Thank you.